Thank you all for joining us today. We are Type Electives. We're an online design school shaping the future of type. We're co-founded by Lin Yun and myself, Juan Villanueva. And at Type Electives, we offer courses that go beyond traditional type design education. Our classes cover a wide range of topics focused on letter forms, including type design, lettering, and creative technology. And our faculty is made up of people who approach their practice with respect, responsibility, criticality, and love. And we're excited to work with students who are eager to explore a future that is based on these principles. This season, we've been talking about supporting linguistic diversity through type design. And so far, we have three amazing speakers, David Jonathan Ross, Tiha, and Alexandra Zamulenkova. And today, for our last speaker in the series, we'll be talking with Manuel López Rocha about designing type for American Indigenous languages. So just a reminder, we're always trying to create resources for the community, so you can watch this after. These are all being recorded, and we hope to do more in the future in relation to this topic. So with that, I'll pass the mic along to Lynn.
All right. And to finish our housekeeping, just a quick reminder to follow us on Instagram and sign up for our newsletter so you can be the first to hear about upcoming classes and events just like this one. And if you'd like to support what we do, there are a couple ways to help. You can share our events with friends or colleagues who might be interested, or make a donation through our website. And we really, really mean it when every little bit helps us keep offering programs like this one and keep offering scholarships. We give scholarships out to roughly, over 60% of all our students, which is, which is only really possible because like everyone keeps helping us. And truly, thank you so much if you already are donating. And with that out of the way, let's get started with today's event. We're super, super, super excited to have Manuel. Manuel López Rocha is a graphic designer specializing in type and editorial design. For a decade, he has researched and developed typographic solutions for Indigenous languages, working closely with linguists and native speakers. He has contributed to type tools for, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation, please correct me later. Juanmeo and Emberacacho designed the type family for Mexican languages and developed several typefaces for the Mixe language. And he also co-organized Multilingue, a conference focused on typography and Indigenous languages of the Americas. His work explores the intersection of design, linguistics, language preservation, and cultural identity. His type design work has been featured in the Tipos Latinos Latin American Typography Biennial in 2012, 2014, 2016, and 2018. In addition, he has collaborated with foundries such as FontStage for Google, Pampa Type, and Repeat Incorporated. He has also led workshops and given lectures on typography for Indigenous languages in Mexico, the United States, Colombia, Argentina, and Canada. Currently, he is a partner designer at Cuatro Ojo Studio, a professor teaching typography and type design at the University of Veracruz, and a member of the Letrastica Collective. And please welcome Manuel for us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, everyone who's coming here. We have like 30 people here. Okay, well, I shared my slides and I will be talking about designing type for American Indigenous languages. But first I want to be clear, because when we say America, we mean the whole continent, the Americas, okay? Latin America and the whole continent. So I've been working with Indigenous languages for like 12 or 13 years, maybe. But I've been focusing my work in Mexican Indigenous languages. I have some work for Colombian languages, and I worked with some other people in other countries in America. But I will try to give you examples on Mexican Indigenous languages to be more clear. So let's start with this. First, I want to give you some context about Mexican Indigenous languages, or about Mexico as a country that has lots of languages here, because many times we think of Mexico as a country where we speak Spanish, where we speak only Spanish, and In the US, we think that you speak English, and in Guatemala they speak Spanish, but this panorama is a little bit more complex. We have here a map with the languages spoken here in Mexico in different regions. And yes, the green parts are all those places where we speak Spanish, but we also have almost 70 languages spoken here in Mexico. So this is the panorama. We have almost 7 million speakers, well, like 6.5 million speakers of indigenous languages. We have 11 linguistic families with 68 languages and 364 variants. Some people say that we have 364 languages, actually. And when we say indigenous languages, we mean languages that are descended from those that existed in the period prior to the Spanish invasion and colonization. Just to be clear, this is a chart where I'm showing the 11 language families that we have for native languages here in Mexico. Some of them have only one language, and some of them have lots of languages like Mayan or Otomangan or Yuto Nawa. And we also have Spanish here in the Indo-European section. But there are some people who also speak other languages that are not native from this part of the world, such as Romani or Afro-Seminole or Plautich or Venetian, spoken by a community in Puebla. I'm showing now some numbers. In 1820, when Mexico was about to become independent, Mexico became independent in 1821, but we had almost 60% of the people who spoke indigenous languages, any of these languages. It's 40% less than 300 years before, when the Spanish came here. But only like 70 years later, we had only 38% of the people in Mexico who spoke any indigenous language. And now, in 2020, we had 6.2% of people who is now speaking or who is telling that they're speaking any indigenous languages. So with these numbers, we can jump to so many conclusions. For example, we think that the Spanish colonization was like a disaster for the indigenous languages, that many of them disappeared in this period, but we can see that it's not like this, that maybe our contemporary organization as a country has killed more indigenous languages than even the colonization did at that time. So I will be showing some for the rest of the presentation. This was some context, but I will be showing you some questions that I've been asking myself on these years that I've been working with indigenous languages, and some possible answers. So the first question is, do all languages have a written form? And I think that no, but all languages can be written. Even when they don't have a written form established, all of them can be written. We have different examples here. For instance, we have some languages, some native languages in Mexico that have interrupted writing traditions. We have here in the left some Mayan glyphs, and in the right, a writing system that was previous to this one. This called Epi-Olmec script. And I will show you first one of my last projects. This is still a work in progress, where I took this writing system, the Epi-Olmec writing system, and I'm trying to take it into a contemporary typeface. So I have this sans serif typeface where I added these glyphs that I took from 2 artifacts that I will show you later. But first, I want to show you these pictures because the epiomic script is like the grandfather or the great grandfather of actual Mixe languages. So Mixe people, Mixe is a language that is spoken in Oaxaca nowadays. They're trying to spread this knowledge about this ancient writing system, this ancient script, just to keep their historical heritage. So they have it in murals, in mural paintings. They are organizing some workshops. And we try to take it to contemporary tools. So we have lots of these glyphs deciphered in like 1994 by 2 researchers, Kaufman and Justison. So this artifact in the left is in the Museo de Antropología, in the museum here in Jalapa. So I went there and I had to look at this one, and in the right that is in the Smithsonian Museum, but fortunately they have like good images there in their website. So I took all these glyphs and I put it in a typeface. So now with some open type substitutions, we can type in Latin script and then we can change it into the syllables into the epiomic script. I'm trying now to compile more of the glyphs because some of them are syllables and some of them are entire words. And I think I will start some work with Unicode to encode all these glyphs also, but it will take some years, maybe. And also the numbers, we have a system that the epiomic people developed for the numbers that later Mayan and other cultures took, and we can change also the numbers. And we should do it also with vertical writing. And I'm trying to do some vertical kerning and some technical stuff to make it work right. So I was talking about this again. We have some languages that had actually their writing tradition, but it was interrupted with the invasion and the colonization in 16th century. But also we have some languages that have a long writing tradition. For example, we have here a document that is a manuscript census in Nahuatl. So people have been writing Nahuatl in Latin script since 16th century, since like 1524 maybe. We have some books here in Nahuatl, the first printed books here in America. Are books that are printed in with native languages, and the first language was Nahuatl. That is nowadays the most the language with most speakers here in Mexico, the native language with most speakers in Mexico. So we have a long tradition on writing in some languages, but we also have some other languages that have no writing tradition, or that are considered non-literate languages. But I prefer to say that are languages that have not still a writing tradition more than calling them non-literate. But what if a language is not written? What happens? I think that there's no problem. There are other forms to preserve a language. A language will not disappear by itself when there's no writing, because we always have spoken language. We have memory. We have another form of transmitting the language from parents to children. And some people may think also that writing is a fetish of Western culture. And yes, maybe it is. There are many communities and many languages that have survived for years and years without writing. So maybe, yes, writing may be a fetish of Western culture. But also, we have to take care of this because nowadays our forms of communication are mainly text-based. So if speakers are not able to write a language, then they are excluded from these ways of communication. I think that a language should inhabit every possible space. And when I say this, I think that those possible spaces are the web, the TV, the movies, and what else? Every possible space. And that the lack of linguistic support in contemporary technologies leads to the exclusion of linguistic communities and facilitates the disappearance of non-hegemonic languages. And this happens not only with indigenous languages, with languages considered as indigenous, but for all non-hegemonic languages. So, are designers accountable for this? Could we be accountable for this? Once I heard this sentence, I was speaking at the National Institute of Indigenous Languages here in Mexico. I was giving a lecture, and there was another person. She was a researcher, and she was working with a nation, an indigenous nation here in Oaxaca. And she said that people thought that that language was not suitable for writing. But why? Can we take care of this? Are we accountable in a way for this as designers? And I think that we can be sometimes, because there's like a relationship of power between languages. And if we typeset or if we design in some way, we can say that, like, how do you say, implicito, like, okay, but yeah, it's implicit that maybe a language is more important than another. You can see here, even with this design is very chaotic, but we can see how Spanish, this hegemonic language, is typeset in a good way. We have everything fine. And how this other language, Cora, is typeset with lots of mistakes here, with characters that are kind of improvised, with random word break. Or here I have another book from the same collection. So we have here Spanish that doesn't have any problem. We have even these quotations, and where are the quotations here in the text in PAME? No, nowhere to be found. And we have different typefaces, and we have this typesetting that maybe no one took care of it. So what are we saying here? Are we encouraging people not to read in their language because it's not suitable for writing? Are we saying this implicitly? Or we have these two ways of writing this little message here. Which one is better? We all may think that the one in the bottom. And I saw this in design from Ciudad Madera in Tepehuano, and well, I had to change it in Photoshop. So poor typesetting and design reinforce the idea that some languages are more important than others. And it's not innocent when we are doing some design with indigenous languages or with non-hegemonic languages, because we are saying some things with the way we are designing. So the next question, do we need more typefaces? That's a question that we are always asking ourselves as type designers. Do we really need more typefaces? In this case, with indigenous languages, well, we do need them often because of the lack of technical support. For example, I have here words in 5 languages, 5 Mexican languages, and we can see how these languages fulfill their technical writing needs with the most accessible typefaces available. There's no problem here. But for other languages, it's different. Here, I have 3 typefaces. This one is Calibri. This one is, what's this? I don't know. But this one is one that I've been working on. I will show it later. So we need more complex characters, more complex glyphs, and not every font can do this. So maybe yes, we need more typefaces. Also, we have in some languages some characters that may be designed in different ways. For example, we have these characters, this U with slash, that is for Masawa language, and it's encoded. But some typefaces, this one is Noto in the left, and we have another drawing here. So we should have a different drawing. Or this superscript E for some tones in some languages. Some fonts have it like lowercase, and we need kind of an uppercase superscript. Or there are some characters that are more convenient to use than others. For example, Saltillo. It's encoded, it has a different Unicode value, but we should include it in our typefaces. I've been showing this chart many times, so if someone has seen my previous presentations, you already know this. So we can design new typefaces. We can take our glyphs or RoboFont or FontLab or anything and design new typefaces from scratch. For example, I have this project. This was a project that was commissioned by the National Institute of Indigenous Languages. We got some of the information that they had from some languages that they were working with. And they asked me to design a typeface that included some complex glyphs for some difficult to type characters. And we covered many languages, and I designed very many pre-composed characters with some automatic substitutions when you type this or when you put the combining accents, the combining diacritics, then it changes to a more suitable for reading a glyph. Here's an example of some text said in Lin, that is the name of this typeface. Or we can also adapt an existing typeface. And I have another example here. This one is called 68 voces, 68 voices. And this one was commissioned by Hola Combo. It's based on Molish by Vernon Adams. But we took this typeface and we designed some other characters. And now we can type in many languages, many Mexican languages. So there's another question or consideration. Should we design for every language? And as type designers, we try to be heroes and say, yeah, let's design for every language. But then how to design for every language? which characters to include, for example. When I first began with this topic, when I was young, I asked myself these questions. Which characters should I include in a font that I'm trying to solve every problem from native languages, and where to search? Is there a single standard? Do we have a list that we have to fill? For example, we have these 4 ways to write the same word in Mixe. And this word is Adam, that is us. Or in Nahuatl, we have 4 ways to write the same word. Or for this word, we have 6 ways to write it. Or for other languages, such as Chatino, that is a tonal language, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 ways of writing it. So, which is the correct form? And the answer may be none, or all, or maybe it depends. It depends on what? These are 3 examples of Nahuatl. In Nahuatl, they use 2 or even 3 ways or 3 orthographic standards, and there's no problem. Everyone use the one who is more suitable for them. All these 3 are contemporary texts. So for Nahuatl readers or writers, they just have to pick one or another form, and there's no problem. They can, people may understand any of them. But for other languages, we have not a single standard. Also, we have this proposal in the left for Zapotec, and we have this other proposal that was designed by a poet called Rodrigo Perez. That is way more complex. So should we include it all or be selective? Many of us could think that the first option is best, to include it all, to compile every possible way of writing every language, but I prefer to be selective. But why? Because I always want to know where every proposal is coming from. First, when I designed my first typeface ever, when I was studying the master's, I wanted to design a typeface for every Mexican language, so I started compiling every example that I could. And I looked at all of these examples where I could found many cool glyphs. And we always like to do something different and to do all these cool forms, like an O with the diverses and a cute accent, or all these glyphs that are kind of new to us. And then I came and designed this typeface. It was called Shalitic or Halitic. And I was just copying all these characters, and I started including lots and lots of characters in my typeface. And then I thought that, well, I can now write in many languages, in many indigenous languages, such as Popoluca or Otomi or Pame or Mixe or Guarijillo. So I took many examples that I compiled, and well, I said, this is it. I have a typeface that can speak many languages, all of the Mexican indigenous languages. But then I found out that many of these proposals are not valid nowadays. They don't use it anymore. People don't write Mixe like this anymore. So what was I doing here? I had a typeface that was kind of useless for people. It was useful for me because I could say, oh, well, I designed a typeface that covers every language in Mexico. and I just compiled a long list of characters, but I didn't know where they came from. So where does each proposal come from? And then we have some community-based proposals or some external proposals. I prefer the first one. Or we have some proposals that are kind of a practical writing, and some of them that are based in academic writing, such as phonetic or phonologic translations or transcriptions. We have also some examples of historical proposals, since they began trying to write some native languages. They had to come with these glyphs that intended to represent some of these sounds. We also have some proposals, for example, from SIL, from the Summer Institute of Linguistics. And we have some other proposals. I don't have it in my presentation, but I found this book by the Jehovah Witnesses. They have some other proposals, and also SIL is a Christian organization. So sometimes it's fine, but they have like their motivation is different than the one from the community. And then we have some proposals that are made inside the community. For example, we have these two proposals for Otomi. There are community-based proposals. So if we choose one or another, we must have in mind first that technologies can be tools of legitimization. So when we include one or other proposal, we have to be aware of what are we doing here. Which proposal am I choosing? I am considering every proposal coming from everywhere, from any of these institutions or from these organizations, or only consider the community-based proposals. Also, writing conventions are ever-changing and are established at their own pace. So we have to be patient. We always don't have the answers right now and right here. We don't have a list that we must only fill. We have to look closer to what's happening with every language and to take a look every time, every from time to time. How do you say? Como cada tanto. Yeah. And the main sentence here is that language belongs to their speakers. So I prefer to listen to the speakers and to know how they want to write their own language, and which proposals they want to throw away. So the idea of being inclusive it's not always the better way to work with these proposals. Now, another question. Can linguistic criteria be applied to type design? This is a bigger question. But, well, I think yes. For example, we have these typefaces for specific languages. For example, this one by Wojtek Pricey for Czech language. And maybe it's just stylistic. The solution is just stylistic, because we have the diacritics drawn in this manner that may be suitable for or adapted for Czech language. But also we have another examples in history, such as these typefaces for the street signs in Berlin. They are different than any letter form that we can see here in this part of the world. But they decided to use it to follow a tradition in German language or to follow certain styles in German typography, and it's okay. Also, black letter designs are a good a good example of how a graphic style may work fine with the language. Why is black letter so used in German language? I don't know. I'm not German, but I think that this is a good reason. Long words look better with narrower type. Maybe it's like simple, but well, that's. And for native languages, I think that we should take ownership of writing tools and to adapt them freely as they do with German language. Maybe it's because they invented typography that they do it like so naturally. So I will give you another example. This is a big project that I've been working in for like 8 years or so. And this is a typeface called Ayuk for Mixe language. And with this typeface, I tried to, well, Mixe uses only diacritics and saltillo. We don't have lots of characters that are special or difficult to type. But Mixe people came to me to ask me to work with a typeface specially designed for Mixe. So I tried to make it work along with the language and to turn some linguistic features into visual features. That was my goal. So I had to take a look on how the language worked and how could I change these linguistic features into visual features. For example, we have this digraph that I turned into a ligature, or we have some conditions such as these grammatical markers that maybe they can be typed as another ligature to make it clear that they're there. Or I have an OpenType feature where you can change any of these glyphs into a proper saltillo. Or we have these conditions that change the way that a consonant is pronounced, the palatalized sound. For example, we change if we have a P and an A, we pronounce it pa. But if we have a P, Y, and an A, we pronounce it pia. So the letter Y modifies the sound of the previous consonant. So maybe we can put it in a visual way and make it easier for the readers to read the text in their language. Or else we have an aspirated sound for the vowels. So it comes from A to ah. But sometimes the J has a different sound in some other cases. So we can make it more clear with this shape that we have an aspirated sound. So we can take this text in the left into this form in the right. And we have a whole text here without any change. And we have it with with all these changes, with all these pronunciation clues. So here and here, before and after. All of this was changed. And all of these are like hints for pronunciation, and it also works as a as a teaching tool, because many people in Mixe communities are literate in Spanish, even when their first language is Mixe and not Spanish. When they learn to write and read in the school, they learn in Spanish. So they have to learn how to write and read in their own languages when they are adults. So we have this also as a teaching tool. And this is the text in Spanish and the text in Mixe. Then I designed this other typeface for Mixe, also for first readers. And we took the same principles. Bless you. the same principles and design this other sans serif typeface. And I included some more daring proposals here, inspired by German type. They have not used them yet, but um, these proposals are there in the typeface, so hopefully they use it sometime. And they have been using this typeface and more than the other in many posters and visual products from the community and in some books. And here comes another question. We have designed our typefaces, but can they be used? What happens when we have a typeface with lots of characters, but we have this in front of us? How do we type a saltillo? How do we type an A with slash and bar and diaresis and everything there? So sometimes we have a very complete typeface. For example, this Gentium by Victor Goldney. But then I'm trying to find a glyph here or here. And sometimes this idea of designing typefaces that are so complete and that have everything may be difficult to use by non-expert users. So one of the possible solutions is to design also keyboard layouts. For example, we designed this keyboard layout for Otomi language from Hyunyu language. But we organized a workshop in the National Institute of Indigenous Languages. I taught this workshop with Sandra Garcia from Tipas Type some years ago, and then we had some of native speakers here trying to decide which characters they wanted to have in the keyboard layout. They worked in groups and then they made different proposals. For example, they had to decide if they kept the characters for Spanish even when they didn't use it in Otomi, or if they could take them away and put the most used characters in Otomi. And they discussed for 2 days, and we came up with this keyboard. They programmed it by themselves for Windows and for Mac, and they are using it now. Some of them are using this keyboard. And finally, this is like the most difficult question. Could we design new scripts? Maybe. All of us would like to design a new script. It's like the major ambition for us type designers to design a new script. But is it suitable for a native language? For example, I think of Chinese. In Chinese, we have this syllable that is written the same way, almost the same way in Latin script, and then can mean 5 different things. If it's written in Latin script, it may be confusing, but if it's writing with Chinese characters, it's not confusing. And we have a similar language here. Many similar languages here in Mexico that are tonal languages. For example, in Chatino, we have this word or this syllable that, depending on the tone it's pronounced, it can mean 5 things, or sometimes more than, it has more than 5. A single syllable has more than 5 possible meanings. So maybe it could be more distinguishable with another writing system, with another script. Well, many indigenous nations have developed their own scripts, but well, I don't know, we could do this, we could help to do this, but let's remember that languages belong to their speakers. So we should not take all these actions that no one told us to take, that no one asked us to take. We have to listen to speakers before trying to do something that we want to do as designers. We should only design what's necessary, and we must listen to people who's using every day their language. We are designing tools, and we are designing tools that are only part of a process that has more steps and lots of previous steps. Who should be consulted? Well, we should consult first speakers, but not every speakers. We cannot come to any community and ask someone who's passing by. We can consult linguists, editors, activists, writers, or maybe teachers. And that's it. I would like to have a bigger conversation with you, and let's turn it into a conversation and not only me speaking. So thank you very much for inviting me here, and thank you all of you who are there for listening to what I have to say. And muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. This is so amazing. And thank you so much for making all this information so accessible as well, because I can imagine, like, perhaps if I was just like coming at it cold, I could imagine like, oh, maybe I would have been overwhelmed. But I really appreciate how you made everything so um accessible, like in terms of like trying to connect with the people and being very empathetic. And it's like it seems like it's coming from a lot of like care for the people that you are trying to help. So anyway, just a lot of admiration there. And I guess we can launch into the audience questions straight away, right, Juan?
Yeah, let's do it. So we have so many questions. Thank you all for sending them. Please keep adding them in the chat and the Q&A. We have a really interesting question from that says, "Have you encountered a language community or particular words that do not want to be encoded?"
Again, please.
If you've yeah, you've encountered a language community or particular words that don't want to be encoded.
Have you encountered a language community or particular words that do not want to be encoded? That I don't want to be encoded?
Yeah, I guess the question to my the way I understand it is like, not everyone maybe wants to be adapted to the Latin script, right? So have you encountered cases like that where there's some resistance maybe?
No, I haven't found any case where they don't want to use Latin script. But for example, the institutions here in Mexico, the public institutions such as the Institute of Indigenous Languages, they have been working for designing these normas lingüísticas, like these rules for writing, and some communities don't want to work with them, not in an institutional way. But they have preferred to make their own work, and I think it's like the most similar case that I have encountered.
Yeah, perhaps this is a good follow-up question also from Shessa. Is there a correlation with languages that are mostly spoken? So, rather than it being written and having many different written spellings? Like I think in your presentation, there was a slide where it was like the same word, but it was like spelled in the Latin script like three different ways. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's because, yeah.
we must understand that Latin script was brought by European people who came here. So the languages that were closer to the pronunciation of languages they knew, such as Nahuatl, that has not very complex sounds or not so different from European languages, or from Indo-European languages, such as Latin or Spanish or French or even German or some of them, were the first ones to be translated or maybe adapted to Latin script. But there's many languages that are way more complex. For example, tonal languages. So they were never written. And it's difficult to write those languages with Latin script. So the proposals for taking them to Latin script are diverse, but I think there's no like a clear correlation between languages that have never been written and the diversity of proposals, because I was showing Nahuatl, that Nahuatl was the first ever the first native language from Mexico to be ever written in Latin script from 16th century, and they still have differences. They have still different spelling proposals, right? So, but yeah, for complex languages, from tonal languages, or for languages that have sounds or grammars that are so different from languages that are usually written with Latin script, because Latin script was designed for being used in Latin. They can have different approaches to these ways to adapt their writing. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Manuel, is it okay if we go over time a little bit because we still have questions, but we're almost at the top of the hour,
Yeah.
and we wanted to make sure it's okay with you.
There
Yeah,
are two quick questions maybe you
I
can
can stay
take
here
on.
all day.
Okay. Awesome. I'll also stop the screen sharing so we can see your face a little better too.
Yeah, let's.
Okay. Oh yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so there are two quick questions. The first one is from David. What was the name of the institution, Normas Lingüísticas? If you can put it in the chat or you can send it
The
to us.
name of the institution that's designing this, no, the Instituto Nacional de Lenguas Indígenas.
There you go.
Indígenas. Yeah, the National Institute of Indigenous Languages. They have developed these norms. They are available in their website.
And the second question, which I think would be fast, but maybe not. From the people who are consulted, this person is pointing out, why are translators not included?
This is a question from a translator. I'm sorry. No, because most of the time translators are also speakers. So yeah, but yes, I should include their translators.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is also a quick one where from Karen, does the IPA alphabet it doesn't include adequate symbols for all languages?
Yeah, but it's an academic writing. We can transcribe. Well, we can pretend to transcribe every possible sound with IPA. I love IPA. I also have a typeface that I designed and I'm like remastering for IPA. But this is not like a practical writing. Yeah, so we could also write English with IPA. And maybe it's like easier for non-English speakers to write in that way, to read in that way. But maybe for English speakers it will be like so chaotic. So this is academic writing. We can transcribe many sounds with IPA. And many people have used these symbols because they're available in many typefaces, and because sometimes we can take it from the way to transcribe the pronunciation, and trying to include it in a practical alphabet. But sometimes it's not the best way to adapt a language to Latin script, because they're difficult to use.
Mm.
And I have an example, not from the IPA, but it's from Mixe, the language I've been working with the most. They use the diacritics every time, and they have a sound for the vowels that is close to Spanish. For example, A, E, I, O, U, the vowels. So they kept the version without the diaresis for those sounds that are similar to Spanish. And then they used the diaresis for sounds that are different from Spanish. For example, like or some forms that are close to our vowels, but not the same. And then they have been using it for a long time, but they found out that they use more often the vowels that have, or the sounds that they choose to be represented with the diaresis more than the ones that have no diaresis. So this was a decision based on Spanish spelling. And the same can happen when we try to transcribe it with IPA, but it's not the most practical solution. So we should try to take ownership of the tools more than to use previous examples that may be not very well suitable for these languages. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very related actually. We have a question from Edgar. It says, "Congratulations, first of all, Manuel. They're currently reading your chapter on signals on the book Signos, Letras y Tipografías de América Latina. So plug the book. So he says that you mentioned features written in the Mixe language, such as digraphs and alternative shapes for the Y. So the question is, does Nahuatl need things like this for to be written? Does it have other diacritics besides the Saltillo? And then another question, I guess, to clarify is the Venetian speaker community in Puebla that you talked about, the Chipilo?
Yes, the Venetian community is in Chipilo. I don't know very much about this community, but I know they speak a variant of Venetian. Yeah, you're asking Nahuatl needs things like this. Well, even Mixe doesn't need those things. I'm just trying to design some characters that are like more that the sound could be more predictable for readers if we change these features. But yeah, we could do that with every language. We can see how a language works and to take some decisions on design based on linguistic features. We could do this for Nahuatl, and we could do this for English or for Spanish or for I don't know, French or every language. But yeah, we could work on something like this for Nahuatl.
Awesome. Thank you. The next question is from Ray. Is there a limit to some stylizations of the type? With some of what was shown, it seems you might need to be careful when you're designing them.
A limit to some stylizations, I don't know. Maybe maybe speakers will have the right answer. We can propose many things. We can change the entire shapes of of the alphabet. Uh, if it works fine for readers or for speakers. Let's try.
Yeah. And perhaps the last question is the goal for having type is for speakers to be able to create new text. What is it for? Ultimately, like, is it to use on social media, translate from Spanish, all of them? Like, what do the native speakers like want to use it for?
All of them. Yeah, but mainly sometimes in social media it's difficult to yeah, how we put our new typefaces in web browsers or in social media. That's why I was speaking about some other solutions. We don't only need new typefaces, but we need sometimes keyboards or some other tools. But new typefaces can be used for writing new text, for publishing books or new materials, learning materials or anything. So it's a part of a process. Is a tool that we can have besides keyboards, and it helps a language to inhabit every possible space. Um, and when we have like the right language support in a typeface or in a technology such as type, we can help this or some language inhabit all of these places there that belong to written language. Yeah. Questions here, but I don't know if
I think those are all of our questions. I do have one quick thing. So I love what you said. Technologies can be tools for legitimization, and fonts are a technology. So the more fonts that we have, the support is, or more research, it's very important. So yeah, my question is there anything you want to plug, I guess, as we're wrapping up? Because I know there's a conference coming up. I know that you've been talking to a lot of people about this as well. So yeah, anything you want to add to like wrap up this conversation?
yeah, we have the Multilingue 2.0. We've organized this conference 2 years ago. But now we have like the part two of this conference in May 23. And it will be free to attend, and stay tuned. Please follow us at Multilingue. How is this? Multilingue MX on Instagram.
Oh, hang on. Let's see.
Yeah, I put in the
Okay.
link there.
Oh, wait, hang on. I want to screen share really quick just in case for the recording people want to see. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah. Go stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned.
Yeah, if you're interested in indigenous languages or languages of the Americas, definitely check this out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Manuel. Like, this is so insightful, and there's a lot of appreciation in the chat already. But yeah, thank you so much for all your expertise. Like, it's I'm always of like coming away with new ideas and new concepts. Thank you so much.
Now let's stay in touch, and if any one of you want to know anything or just chat, please contact me. I'm there on Instagram and everywhere. So or come visit.
Oh yeah, let's drop Manuel's Instagram in the chat in case folks don't have it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, here I
Están
have it.
hablando en español también.
Sí.
Yes, there we go. Yes, go. Oh, hang on. Let me share real quick again. Here we go. There's Manuel. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This is all your Friday afternoons or, early Saturdays or what time have you. So thank you, everyone, so much. Thank you so much again, Manuel. Like, it was so amazing to have you.
Thank you, everybody. Gracias.
Gracias, Manuel. Gracias a todos. Nos
Bye.
vemos. Que tengan buen fin de semana. Have a good weekend.
Bye, everybody.